Do you ever get hurt with running?
Uh, I haven't. The only time was in high school when I joined
Okay,
track.
Martina. Whoa. Okay, whoa.
But I did
No,
one time
no,
now.
this is what I'm talking about because there are runners out there. You are a natural born runner. You're a natural born runner, and it I've read about this. I've heard about this, because someone like me, there's I have my IT band issues. Some people have the performance. Some people have their heel, their foot, ankle, calves, whatever. And it repeats because once you get an injury, it's forever. You may repeat it again. Um, but I've heard of those who don't get hurt or don't have injuries, the common running injuries. Um, and you're definitely a natural born runner. Wow, I did not expect you to say that because that's a big deal, especially as we age. It gets difficult and we tend to get, more injured faster. Whereas with you, you don't have any running injuries. Oh my God. Wow, that's amazing. So, did anybody ever tell you, was it your stride? Was it the way your foot hits the ground? Did anyone ever assess the way you run to say that's why you don't have injuries? Or is it just you were born to run?
Nobody ever showed me. I did get assessed from like just my running shoes, but nobody's ever like told me anything. I
Okay,
just think I just
let's
ran.
talk about the running shoes. Okay. So what do you have to have specific type of shoes for running? Like do you have
Um, Now, every time I go to a running store, they tell me you're neutral, I guess.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
my running shoes is. Growing up, I didn't really, I didn't know that people pay much for like running shoes because I grew up like just buying shoes what my mom could get me. And I was like, okay, I'll go run in this. I didn't think people paid attention to that until I got older and I started leaning towards certain brands. And I was like, oh, I like how this one feels. And this one feels a little bit off. And I didn't know runners look for stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
people
I kind
drop.
of went into barefoot for a little bit. And that was a little bit it was okay until I stepped on a rock and it bruised underneath my feet. I don't know if that counts as an injury, but
No.
but that a sharp rock stabbed my foot and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this no more.
Okay, no, I wouldn't say that was an injury. So that's what I was actually gonna ask you if you started running barefoot when you were a kid. I was gonna ask you if that's how you trained or that's how you ran, but it sounds like you did have some running shoes growing up, correct?
Yeah, yeah, there's like a so in the Navajo culture, a lot of the stuff some people like wake up early in the morning to go run. I didn't grow up doing that because my mom never woke me up like at 5 in the morning. But one of the things is like, hey, like if you wake up before the sun, you're supposed to run towards the sun and, pray. And that's like one thing some Navajos do is to do that so that they can bless themselves. So running is like a big culture, like a part of our culture. Even like when I became a woman, that was one of the ceremonies I had to go through was it's a 4-day ceremony where basically every morning we wake up, run towards a certain towards the east and I remember my mom she didn't tell me that I had a limit to where I ran. I ran far and then she was like, "Hey, the next day you're gonna have to run farther than that." I looked at her and I was like, "What?" I was like, "What do you mean? Like I had to go farther than what I just did today?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I gotta time this then. Like I gotta see where I'm going." And uh every morning you do that and like the last morning you're supposed to run early in the morning and you're supposed to yell. So I remember that morning I woke up and I went with my everybody. Some people follow you when you run and you run in like your traditional clothes and your moccasins and I started running and I started screaming. I was like yelling, and I remember looking at the sky, and there's like shooting stars and uh,
Wow.
stuff like that. So like one of the ceremonies is like that, and so I think running is a part of our culture, and
Yeah, it
I
sounds like it. What's the symbolism of the running every day and yelling out? What does that mean like for the culture to do that?
so only like girls who start becoming a woman, and how that happens is when you first start menstruating.
Mm-hmm.
And traditionally wise, I hope I get the story right, but there's a changing woman. She was like one of the first ladies, and basically she ran all four directions. And I don't want to tell the story wrong.
Okay, so
But so
there's a story behind, there's a symbolism
yes.
to the story with you doing that. That's so interesting. And it's almost okay, would you say that it was a celebratory? Was it celebrating the whole, becoming a woman?
Yes. Yes, it
Okay.
was.
Where the rest of us are like, "Oh my god, holy crap." Welcome to being
Because
a
I
woman. That's actually beautiful. Wow, that is really beautiful. So it sounds like running is definitely in your DNA. It's in your DNA.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people run on the reservation, and I think it's like one thing too is like my mom when she was younger used to run all the time, and she would say, "Oh, I used to run up that mountain after the sheets, and I used to probably make it under 10 minutes." And I remember me and my little sister were like, "What the heck? Like,
Oh
when you
my
ran up that
god.
mountain and to get the sheep?" And every day we would think about it. We're like, "Oh, well, we can beat mom." And I think that's like one of the things is my mom telling her stories running too, and I'm like, I can be like her.
Oh, I love that. I mean, we'll definitely, when we post this episode, we'll definitely put the story so that people can understand what it is because that sounds just so beautiful. So running, again, I'm still like blown away that you've never had a running injury, and no, a rock on underneath your foot is not an injury in my book. So did you ever want to be like one of those athletes like that are out doing the marathons that you see on TV or get paid by Nike or Brooks, to do that? Did you ever think about doing anything like that? Or are you just, you run because you want to run?
So I like running like when I started doing like endurance sports like Ironmans and stuff like that. I did it because I also wanted like during the process I wanted to like help inspire other people, not just women but men too, like because I noticed like some people when they hear me talk about what I do, they're like, "Oh wow, I want to do that." And there was even some of my friends who bought their first bike and they wanted to do something different. But when I started looking at people do it professionally, I feel like that's going to take away from what you love to do, you know? Like you have to do like I remember seeing one of the athletes, an Ironman athlete, how she lives every day, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. She has all these bikes. She eats this healthy every single day." And I feel like if I do that too much, I'm not going to be happy. Like that
Mm.
spark and drive for it might go away. I'd rather for me like inspire other people, like try to tell my story like by Instagram, by posting pictures like, "Hey, I ran this many miles today." Like I just hope that someday like, I feel much more joy in that, I think. And I don't think being a professional, like I don't know. I don't I guess I'm a little bit humble on that cuz that would be fun, but at the same time I'm like, am I good enough? Cuz I see so many people who are so much better. Like that's what I feel. I don't feel that confident to say I can be at that level.
Well, I don't know about you because looking at your Instagram page, I'm like, does this woman ever not run or ride her bike? But let's talk about how many races you've done. Like, do you know how many half marathons or forget the halves, how many full marathons or ultra marathons you've done? I mean, do you know like off the top of your head?
Okay,
Oh
so
my
I did
gosh,
a
she
lot of
does.